Can you hear me now or no? I'm getting feedback on my end with the monitor things are going up, so it's hearing my voice. All right, now you can hear me? All right, good. Hello guys, welcome back to the Left Lane podcast. I'm your host Sean Urban, and it's a great day to be a Texas hater, but a bad day to be a William Byron fan, and we're going to get to those. So, I was proven wrong the past weekend. We did not have a playoff driver when Tyler Reddick, who was recently eliminated from the playoffs, I think by 2 points at Bristol, has won the Texas race in a couple of last minute stints that I'm going to get to in a second. But Tyler Reddick fans are shaking their head right now saying he had just got in 2 points 1 week ago. We would have been fine. We would have been in the round of 8. But nothing they can do about that from there. Tyler Reddick still keeping the organization afloat despite there being animosity between Richard Childress and Tyler Reddick. But Texas really showed a lot of flaws of what happened this week in terms of tires, safety, just overall driver etiquette and NASCAR control etiquette. So the first main topic I think that's on everyone's mind is the is most of the that would be on most NASCAR fans' minds is the tire blowouts that came. I think there was at least I don't think they could get more than 50 laps without having someone blew a tire. And per Kevin Harvick's Twitter, um, 36 lead changes didn't realize we blew that many tires, and most of the blowouts from that race just came from the lead. So, for example, Martin Truex Jr., who was leading, Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick was probably praying to God that his tires didn't blow out at the end as he was leading the race, and Joey Logano was slowly but surely catching him. But thankfully for him, at least he didn't blow out. And one of the other controversies coming out of this week was how NASCAR handles its penalty system. Immediately, because Ty Gibbs had a penalty earlier from I don't remember what it was, something from the Xfinity race with like bumping someone, I don't know, but during pit road, there was an incident with Chris Buescher where he needs to make repairs on his car, and the car is another topic I'm going to get to in a couple minutes. But while he was on pit road, Ty Gibbs and Ty Dillon, or I believe Eric Jones, no, it was Ty Dillon, but Ty Gibbs was basically crashing and smacking into Ty Dillon on pit road for whatever reason. I don't know whether it was a late race incident, but it was right in the vicinity of Chris Buescher's car, who had men towards the pit road lane while they were working on the car and repairs, and it was incredibly dangerous. So because it was a second offense, Ty Gibbs has been docked 25 owner points, and he has been fined $75,000, and so he issued an apology on Twitter. And Eric Jones clapped back at him saying, "Don't ever hit me on pit road again," which is where the confusion came from. And I was just like, oh God. And then just petty NASCAR jump. But one of the bigger issues that comes out of this weekend is during one of the cautions, William Byron went up to the bumper of Denny Hamlin when they were in the dog leg of the Texas Motor Speed Race, one of the mile-and-a-half intermediates. Coming into the dog leg, William Byron slowed but accelerated onto Denny Hamlin's bumper and nailed him right into the infield grass. Fortunately, he didn't end up hitting the wall. And during the cool down laps when they were trying to re-rack the field and get them ready to go back racing, Denny Hamlin and Willie B were crashing into each other, not crashing into each other, but they were just banging bumpers and fenders, and it was just like some Ross Chastain drama that happens. But NASCAR has went ahead and docked 25 driver points from William Byron, as well as fined him $25,000. Hendrick will be appealing, most likely at the end of next week before the Charlotte Roval race. But judging by now, that brings William Byron to 8 points below the cut line. Nothing much really changed with Chase Elliott actually a lot changed this weekend. Chase Elliott's one of the guys that's now really, really towards the back who has to claw his way back up at a track where he should have dominated the day. He crashed out, tire blowout, smacking the inside wall coming into the dog leg and laying it to rest on the infield grass where the left, I believe, no, the right front, sorry, the right front brake caught fire, and he had to get out of there quickly. So they got that extinguished. With Chase Elliott now sits seventh in the standings, and is it and the regular season champion who had all these playoff points is now in a pretty desperate position. Say to say that if he didn't get those extra 15 playoff points, he would probably be below the cut line. And Trackhouse had a pretty good day as they moved themselves up in the standings. The drivers dominating and winning stages, mostly dominating the stages and earning some points for them. They believe Ross Chastain moves up third. Daniel Suarez, the second Trackhouse driver, moves up to sixth. And another big thing that was really criticized with the whole penalty system was how NASCAR recently made all of their cameras, like the out of car and in car camera, they made them free on all platforms. They made them free on the NASCAR app, on your phone, on desktop. You could watch any driver. At first, you could only watch 4 drivers, and then you had to pay to see those. But NASCAR has recently made that free for everyone to watch any driver that they want that's in the field. And speaking of any driver, Connor Daly, who is an IndyCar driver, will be racing the number 50 at the Charlotte Roval next weekend. And it's pretty interesting to see how we have a second open wheel renaissance or open wheel takeover, where at first we had in the 2000s AJ Allmendinger from Champ Car, Juan Pablo Montoya from Formula One, as well as Danica Patrick from the IRL or the Indy Racing League, which is the 2000s equivalent of IndyCar. And now with this open wheel renaissance, we have Kimi Räikkönen, who is a Formula One world champion who drove for teams like Ferrari, McLaren, Lotus, racing for Trackhouse in the 91. They have Connor Daly racing for Money Team Racing. That's the team that like Tyson owns, the number 50 car. Daly's IndyCar sponsors will be on the car. I'll show that pictures of his car before the next weekend. But back to the penalty system. NASCAR has probably one of the most technologically enforced sports in terms of development, like with cars and racing and just all this media logistical camera work and stuff. And one of the issues that they had was that they didn't realize William Byron had hit Denny Hamlin until it was too late, despite there being so many cameras. I think a majority of fans saw the in-car cameras before NASCAR even saw it. Eventually, they said that they were going to dock Byron the points and fine him after the race, but NASCAR was pretty incompetent this weekend in terms of how to run a race and enforcing a lot of their rules. And yeah, it's been a pretty difficult since 2020. It's been pretty difficult. Their NASCAR's in a new position to enforce this sport as NASCAR's now getting bigger. It's subject to a lot more criticism compared to recent years. But my final point that I want to get to today is the next gen car safety. So the cars are made of the 2022 cars are made of different materials. Last year they were made of sheet metal, and they were just made of a plain sheet metal that you could probably find, like aluminum. But this year there's made of a carbon fiber composite material that's a lot more stronger. So I'll take a comparison. I had a little experiment. I have this water bottle here that's supposed to demonstrate the material that is used on the 2022 cars, and I have some wrapper or something that's used to demonstrate the 2021 cars. And what I'm going to do with these is to show what exactly the issue is with the next gen cars safety procedures. So for the I'm gonna show you some videos real quick about like some of the crashes with NASCAR this year. So this is a crash this year. So you see here, it's William Byron and Tyler Reddick. They're coming out of turn two on the backstretch of Auto Club in Fontana. And when you notice right here, as Byron leans towards the right side of the wall, the car caves in, and you don't really see much change. It's just like the bumper gets smidged a little bit, and it keeps on going. But I'll do a 2020 comparison with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at the 2020 Darlington race following the pandemic. You see right here, as he's hitting the inside wall, the car easily crumbles in. And what that does is that the crumbling from the car is absorbing a lot of the G forces that come like on a driver's head and neck. So this is the material of the Gen 6 car. Easily crumbling, can't really get it back into a shape unless you straighten it out, but even then it's not the same. But with this new car, with the new tougher carbon composite material, see right here, you put a dent in there, easily pops back out with a little bit of effort. And more of the emphasis I think that NASCAR wanted to make is that a lot of the collisions with the Gen 6 car with the newer material is that when you scuff it inside like the tire walls, it tends to it a lot of the time it would cut down the tire and it would lead to issues. So I believe the good message NASCAR was trying to send was they wanted less tire blowouts from drivers getting into each other. So that they can like hit and bang and be a bit more tough in terms of competition and moving up, since this car is designed to make it very a lot, at least a lot more easier to pass. Despite Texas being it's such an aero dependent track, other than the tire blowouts from this weekend, the racing was a pretty decent product compared to the last few Texas races, especially the All-Star race in which there was just zero passing. Even as Logano began to catch right, there was still like a fierce battle mid-pack, but you know, it's just a lot of the stuff that NASCAR has. They have a great product. They had a pretty decent execution. I just think that there's been some hiccups along the way, but a pretty major issue I see is that NASCAR is not listening to the drivers on terms of feedback. They listened to them earlier. Originally, they were going to go for high downforce, low power, but then a lot of drivers were like, no, let us test a tapered spacer, lower the downforce, and the car raced a lot better. It was much more of a challenge, but at that cost of entertainment, they're sacrificing a lot of safety. And Kevin Harvick, who had a collision, like hitting the back and then sliding into the wall coming off of turn four, or I believe they thought it was a concussion, but he's been taking red light training, which is like it's what I did for rugby. Is just testing your reaction skills to see if like you have a concussion from a brain, not just touching lights and at the correct time or catching them before they get there. It's just reaction training to see like if your brain is damaged, because most of the G forces that are coming from this new car go to your neck and to your head, which is why Kurt Busch had that concussion earlier that has taken them out of the season. And speaking of Kurt Busch, the last year he started a tradition that for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, he encouraged drivers to run a pink net. There's a window net that's supposed to be put down to alert safety crews that the driver is okay. So what he did was that he encouraged drivers to wear pink window net, and as soon as that followed, everyone rocked a pink window net. And NASCAR is one of those sports. I think it's probably one of like the sports I think it's one of the biggest like motorsports and one of the biggest sports in the world that sheds a lot of light on the issues of breast cancer awareness. Is at least always a pink car a week for breast cancer awareness month, whether it be a Talladega, Roval, Round of Eight. There's always some kind of breast cancer representation. It's just really good to see that an issue that should be more talked about. My friend's mom has breast cancer. So it's just so when I see that, I think of her and how she's doing and how she's been, like, fighting a lot the past couple of years. I think she's fine now, but it's just really great to see that NASCAR is shedding a lot of, is representing a topic of women that's really should be more talked enough since it's a really sad, disease that kills a lot of people a year. Even as we're continuing to get better with it, it's still just very sad. But in more wholesome news, Talladega we go to Talladega this weekend, and they have opened up their campgrounds for anyone that's looking to escape Hurricane Ian. So some Floridians that have who want to escape from Florida from who want to escape from Florida during the hurricane, Talladega has opened up their campgrounds and they will allow people who are fleeing the hurricane to stay there once it's safe to go back home. And other news besides the Connor Daly, this tonight, the fourth episode of NASCAR's Race for the Championship on USA Network airs at 10 p.m. tonight, and yeah, we're gonna be going back to Talladega this weekend, which is one of the more hectic races, and hopefully, God forbid it does, hopefully it'll be a much more safer weekend. So yeah, I was wrong last week about Texas being boring, but it was not boring or entertaining in the wrong way. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all next week. Take care, everyone.